Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grooving and Giving in Retirement. I'm Radhika, and thank you for your time. This channel is for people who are retired early or are looking to retire early, want to make a difference in the world, and want to learn about financial freedom, the glue that makes the other two things possible. I left my career retiring before I turned 50 to focus on my passion, my NGO, A Childhood for Children. A Childhood for Children fulfills the basic needs of children by providing essential items to children in impoverished and underserved communities. And this year, my NGO is turning 13, actually this month. Wow, who would have thunk it? Now, let me ask you all a question. As a child, did you dream of anything super big? And then when you became an adult, you kind of had all these doubts about whether you could make that dream a reality? Well, I certainly did. And that dream was to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. So I put it off as long as I could till I left my job and I looked at my bucket list, and there were 3 items remaining on my bucket list: Kilimanjaro, Everest Base Camp, and Antarctica. It was time to pony up. In today's video, I am talking about grooving in early retirement. What does that mean? Well, that means you are making your dreams come true. So, in today's video, I want to talk about how I conquered, is that the right word? Kilimanjaro. I'll be answering questions that I've received over the last 4 years. Why Kilimanjaro? Well, I've mentioned this in other videos. I have a list of 4 criteria that I use when I'm choosing my travel destination. Tanzania checked off 3 of the 4. Bucket list, professional needs list, and my charity. Professional needs: my husband is a travel photographer who shoots travel and wildlife. So obviously Tanzania has wildlife. Duh. I don't think he quite wanted to sign up for Kilimanjaro, but he did, and he did very well. My NGO, A Childhood for Children, well, we used our climb as a fundraiser for the children. Climbing Kili for Kids really helped us raise money for the kids we support. Let's get cracking. We started our trek on September 13, 2021, and summited Kilimanjaro on September 19, 2021. I've given away the punchline. And we came out of the Muika Gate on September 21st. Now, why did we pick this time of the year? Well, it is one of the most beautiful times to trek, and I personally needed all the time in the world to train. So let me just set a record straight here. I am not a sporty person. In fact, I had never done a multi-day trek in my life before. I hadn't slept in those little igloo tents, hadn't gone camping, maybe glamping. So this was going to be my first attempt, but that did not deter me because, folks, Kilimanjaro is about mindset and preparation. Okay, question 2. The route we chose was the Lemosho route. ¿Por qué, you say? Well, because it is 6 days going up, and that gives you all the opportunities to acclimatize in a more favorable manner and a greater chance at success. Also, this route is very scenic. One of the good things about this route, it's a gradual ascent, and you cross over the entire Shira Plateau from west to east. Pole, pole. The only difficult part, well, semi-difficult part of it is the Barranco Wall, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. So we chose this route. The Lemosho route is 70 kilometers, 42 miles, gate to gate. You start at the Landrasi Gate and you exit the park at Mawika Gate. 6 days up, 2 days down. There are 7 camps marked all the way from Landrasi Gate going up to the 19,341 summit, Uhuru Peak, and that's 5,895 meters. And folks, going up is gradual, which is nice, but coming down, you are coming down fast. You get off the mountain really fast, 2 days. And it is difficult coming down from the summit because you're coming down in scree. Now, I had sustained an injury, my knee, when I was training, so I had to be really careful. And coming down, my knee locked. And that last day, I had to be carried off the mountain in a metal gurney. So going up, I was okay, but coming down is just as dangerous, and you want to prep for that. Okay, the next question. What did it cost? Oh, this is a big question. We used a trekking company out of Portland, Oregon, and generally speaking, the Western companies are a bit more costlier than the local Tanzanian companies. Our trek cost $3,600 per person, but that's not all the cost, because you also want to tip your support staff that helped you get up the mountain, the porters, the cooks, the guides. And the tips can get hefty. For us, we had 10 trekkers in our group and we had 41 support staff. We certainly wanted to because they helped us get up that mountain. There are other costs, of course, like your air travel, hotel, food, and the gear. The gear is really important. And if you don't have all that gear, which I didn't, I live in Florida, I had to buy quite a lot of the gear. So let's segue into the gear. Question 3, what gear? Okay, your travel trekking company will give you a list of all the items you need to bring to the mountain. I did not have a lot of the things that were on the list. So I had to buy everything from base layer to the heavy jacket that would sustain the temperatures on Kilimanjaro. I invested in merino wool everything. Gloves, shirts, hats, down to me knickers. Because, folks, you are 8 days on the mountain without a shower. You want to make sure you've got the right clothes. Cotton is no bueno. Once it gets wet, it's useless. So make sure you've got the right gear. A couple of things that I would recommend, at least for me, I would say a neck gaiter was really important. Leg gaiters were also important. The dust on Kilimanjaro is really fine, like moon dust, and it sticks to your pants. Having those leg gaiters is really important. Of course, you want to make sure you have all the right clothing, the balaclava for summit night, the thick merino wool socks. And believe me, summit night gear is very, very important. I will say there are a couple other things that are very important. One is baby wipes. Like I said, 8 days without a shower can get a little funky. Whew. For women, there are a couple other things that I would highly recommend. Panty liners and a shiwi. A shiwi is really important so that you don't have to make those trips out of your tent all the way to the toilet tent, getting out of your sleeping bag, putting on some extra layers of clothing, putting on your shoes, getting out of the tent. Believe me, folks, a shiwi can make going to the bathroom a lot easier on those cold Kilimanjaro nights. Now, before you even get on the mountain, your guides will do a gear check in your hotel room. They'll make sure you have all the items that you need to be on the mountain. Anything you don't need, you leave in the hotel room. Just as an FYI, you don't take your passport or any extra money that you've brought. That stays in the hotel safe. Now, if you've forgotten to bring something, this is your time to run out and go get it. Also, check with your trekking company. Sometimes you can borrow items from them. Also, there are rental companies in Moshi that you can rent from, but, you might get what you actually want. So just make sure you have all the gear you need. There's some things we didn't need, like a space blanket, so we didn't actually take it. But again, follow that list closely and break everything in. Don't try to break anything on the mountain like your hiking boots. Okay, let's talk about training. Our trekking company provided us with a training checklist, and that training schedule proved to be very valuable. I live at sea level, so I took that very seriously. Now, I mentioned I am not a sporty person, hadn't done a multi-day hike ever, hadn't been in igloos, so I did everything: weights, stretching, long walks with my backpack, and days where we had to do elevation gain. I would go do stairs in a parking garage for hours on end, sometimes 4 or 5 hours, a couple of times a week.
Worth of stairs. That's I think like 1,200 feet. I did the calculation before. So
I was lucky to be able to go to California to train there. So I trekked a lot of trails in California and also hiked in the Yosemite National Park, which is a park I absolutely love. I also prepared doing breathing exercise, Wim Hof, breath holding, um, trying not to breathe out of my mouth, just breathing through my nose. So I tried to do everything I possibly could to prepare for the mountain. I will say this, I did take Diamox when I was on the mountain. I got my doctor to prescribe it, and we were recommended to cut a few pills in quarters and start taking those quarters a few days before we even got on the mountain to get our body used to it. Another hint, take that pill in the morning. Once you start taking the full pill, take it in the morning because it is a diuretic and you do not want to be up wee hours of the night doing your business. Okay, next question. Food, sleep, and toilets. Okay, let's cover them. Food. The food is plentiful, it is delicious, and folks, it is a bit carb heavy, so know that. I think I ate way too many carbs and I wasn't used to it. My body sometimes felt a little sluggish. So know that is it carb heavy. I think I brought into that whole thing like, oh, my body's burning a lot of calories, so let's eat more carbs. I corrected for that on my next hike in Nepal. So sometimes I felt a little sluggish. But there is a lot of food. You do not need to bring tons and tons of snacks. Keep in mind that there is a weight limit for your porters to carry your bag, so you don't want to put more than you have to in your bag. So leave that, 10-pound bag of Snickers or whatever you brought back in your hotel room. You don't need to bring all that stuff. Okay, let's talk about sleeping. This was a bit of a challenge for me. One, you're sleeping in really small tents and you've got a lot of gear in there and the space is tight. So, and I'm claustrophobic. So in the middle of the night, at least 2 nights, I got up in a state of frenzy and panic and I had to unzip everything in the tent. Also, you're sleeping like this on the mountain. That was a bit challenging. So in the middle of the night, I had to like shimmy my way back up to the top of the tent. So sometimes I did find that sleep was a little bit difficult for me. One thing I want to say is that every day, the guides will monitor your vitals. They will check your blood oxygen level. They will ask you if you're doing okay, sleeping well, eating well, that kind of stuff. And they monitor that you're doing okay all throughout the hike, and that it is cold on the mountain. But at night, you can get boiled water into your Nalgene and put it in your sleeping bag. So definitely bring a Nalgene bottle. Also, your Nalgene bottle will come in use when you're on the summit because the hose in your camelback will freeze at some point. Okay, toilets. Let's talk about that. Folks, I'll just tell you straight up, it is well worth the $50 extra per person for that toilet tent, because the toilets at the camps are really, really bad. And so your trekking company will have access to private toilets for you, but you have to pay extra for them, and well worth every penny. Okay, moving on to the next question. But here's the packing tip that's a must. Don't pack all your things in clusters. And what I mean is, don't put all your t-shirts together and your pants together and your socks together. In fact, pack for each day. So day one, day two, you're probably going to wear the same things. You may probably not even need a base layer or any kind of gloves or hats. So pack for the first 2 days, depending on the weather, pack them and put them in Ziploc bags. Just keep in mind that that your trekking company approves you bringing Ziploc bags, or use dry bags. So pack it according to the days. The other tip that I'll give you is, if you're bringing a Shiwi, make sure that the bottle that you have packed to be the bottle that you pee in is approved. Plastic bottles are not allowed on the mountain, so make sure you're taking a bottle that you're going to use that is approved. Make sure all your summit night gear is packed separately, and keep it, if you're traveling two together, keep it in one bag. If you are starting your summit trek at night, that day at base camp, the guides will do a gear check for summit night. And it'll be very good if you've got it all together and you're not going through your bags. The other thing is, you want to conserve your energy as much as possible. You don't want to be digging through your bags to find stuff. So know where everything is precisely and always put it back exactly in the same place. It's hard enough every morning that you have to roll up your sleeping bag, and it gets harder as you go up the mountain. Okay, next question. For me, there were a couple of hard parts. One was definitely summit night. The second thing that was really hard for me was sometimes trying to get dressed in the tent. You kind of have to be laying down because it's so low. You have to lay down and get ready. And sometimes that was a little difficult getting ready. So just practice all of that before you get on the mountain. Know exactly what you're going to put on first, second, and third. Who's going to go get dressed first if you're two people to the tent, which generally you may want to be, because then it's a little bit less costlier than just having the tent to yourself. The hardest part by far was summit night. Now, a lot of people have said that the Barranco Wall was sort of tough. First of all, it's a short period. It isn't tough. It's like a class 4. It's not really rock climbing, but it's like a class 4 scramble. You're kind of ass over elbow with your legs, and you're climbing over rocks and boulders, and it's a short period. So it's what was most challenging about that part? It was trying to stay with our group because it gets very crowded at the Barranco Wall. Summit night by far was the hardest. So let's talk summit night. When you get to base camp, try to get in as many naps as you possibly can. It's going to be hard. Don't be out there jibber jabbering. Get in your tent, go to sleep. Catch in the snoozes as much as you can. You'll get woken up several times for food. And then you'll also get woken up or for like the gear check. So your guides will do a gear check for summit night. Now, of course, if you packed well, you'll have all your summit night stuff in a couple of Ziploc bags, and you'll be able to whip it out and then, get it out and show your guides. The guides will tell you if you need more layers, depending on what the weather is expected to be. I was wearing 4 layers on the bottom, so merino wool leggings, lined hiking pants, fleeced pants, almost like ski pants, and then my outer shala, I had like rain pants. So, and then the top, I had 5 layers. I had my balaclava, I had my neck gaiter, of course, several pairs of gloves, several pairs of socks. You are bundled up. If you're gonna wear foot warmers and leg warmers, make sure you've worn those before, and especially in your boots, because they are an additional item in your boots, and sometimes they can become a little bit pokey and uncomfortable. So make sure if you're wearing them on the up, take them out when you come down. We started our ascent at 10 p.m. I started getting ready at 9 p.m., if not sooner. All these layers take a lot of time. Putting on your leg gaiters, it's a lot of work. And then at 10 p.m., we lined up with our headlamps and we started our ascent. And you are going one foot in front of the other. You're following the feet in front of you, and you are just shuffling on up the mountain. Did I say I conquered the mountain? Maybe I should have said I shuffled up Kilimanjaro. And it's half foot because you just don't want to exert too much energy. You want to conserve energy, and it's cold, and it's only going to get colder. It's only going to get windier as you get up the mountain. Now, you do take breaks, of course. And one of the luxuries we had during our break was our guides were carrying hot tea for us. My God, talk about luxury. Of course, now, if you have to use the bathroom, you have to step out of line, a couple of steps out of line, and your guides will tell you which direction. You do your business, you get back in line, and you keep shuffling on up the mountain. Okay, you're climbing up, you're climbing up, you're climbing up, and somewhere around 3, 4 o'clock, maybe 4:30, you start to see the light break through, and it is gorgeous. It is spectacular. Of course, you've battled wind and cold. In fact, I was windburned in my face, but all of that doesn't matter. The scenery is spectacular. You're getting up there, you get up to Stella Point. It's a double-edged sword because you are almost there, and yet you're not there yet. You still got to make it to Uhuru Peak, and you can see it, but it's still another 45 minutes to Uhuru Point. Double-edged sword. And you've got to, there's not a lot of wasting time. You're taking your pictures. You're getting up to Uhuru Peak. You're getting to the peak, the highest point, roof of Africa. You take your pictures. It is so emotional to be up there. All that hard work is paying off. You have made it. Now, you can't stay up there too long because you're at such a high altitude. In fact, somebody in our group, her face started turning green. They had to pull her off the mountain really quickly. We also saw a porter who was getting pulled off the mountain. He was being carried down in literally a blanket and needed oxygen. So you want to make sure that you are not wasting a lot of time. Even all the hypoxic breathing training I had done, I was very aware of the fact that I had shortness of breath, and I would have to rest every 100 or so steps and then carry on. The glacier atop the mountain is just beautiful. It is spectacular. It is gorgeous. Now, it has shrunk a lot, but still, it is majestic. Being up there is just incredibly amazing, emotional, exhilarating, exhausting. All of those feelings come together. It is one of those moments where you feel contentment, joy, excitement, all the emotions just come together, and I was super emotional. Well, we filmed our videos with our flag for the NGO. We didn't waste a lot of time, and then you head on down because you got to get off the mountain pretty quickly, and it's really quick. You come down, you get to base camp, you rest for a little bit, eating lunch, and then back down even farther to the next camp because you're getting out of the national park pretty quickly. Folks, it was just an amazing experience. And I took all that I learned on this mountain. 6 months later, I was in Nepal, trekking up to Everest Base Camp. That's another video. Thank you so much for your time. And just remember, if you climb Kilimanjaro, pole, pole. Take care of yourself. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Ding, ding, ding. You know the drill. This is Grooving and Giving in Early Retirement, grooving in Tanzania. Oh yeah, oh yeah.